welcome to my channel. I'm Allie G Reads, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the worst things I read in 2020. I've read a lot of bad books in my day. I think I read more bad than good books. But anyway, I'm going to try to make this go like as quick as possible because I'm literally losing daylight here. So, I don't own a lot of these books anymore because they're terrible. And I got rid of my terrible books. I tried to pawn them off on people. I do still own a few, so I will show up, but the other ones I'll just put like a picture. These are the books that were the absolute worst. What is it? 22 terrible books. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to start this video and give you the tea on these terrible books. Actually, this isn't tea, this is iced coffee. But for dramatic effect. I read The Grip of It by Jacques Schmeck, something like that. This is a haunted house story. I saw another video on YouTube recommending it. But this is a haunted house story. And it's about this couple that moves into this broken down house. And things are kind of really creepy things are happening. And the wall is kind of like getting mold spots. And then they start getting mold spots themselves. You're really dealing with a couple that's losing their grip of things. However, it was a small book. I remember being really short. But oh my god. It was so bad. It was so bad. It was so boring. I couldn't do it, and I can't in good faith recommend something that I can't even do. Another one I had to special order from Amazon. The Elementals by Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell is a Southern horror writer, so all his stuff is set in the South, which I think is a really good and like kind of creep element to go. This wasn't it. Again, boring. It's a haunted house story about this family, and they're at a funeral to start. And then there was like this really creepy incident that happened at the funeral. And then they go back and there's this house that is on the family property. It's another one of their houses and it has a life of its own. Just don't. It's just boring. There's something weird going on with the dad and his teenage daughter. And I never hear anyone talk about it, but I was getting like really like creepy vibes from it, and it was just unnecessary. Like it wasn't moving the plot. I ended up like not finishing it because I fucking hated this book. Don't do it. Don't do it. I actually bought this because I'm pretty sure this is one of those published books. Like you can get them on Amazon. That's where I got this, but it's one of those books that get like printed as you order it. It made its round on BookTube a lot. So I thought I'd read it. Kin by Keelan Patrick Burke. I fucking hated this book. I wanted this to be good. This is about a girl that gets captured by a cannibalistic family. Basically, a really shitty version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'll just be fast. It's a shit version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This girl gets kidnapped by this crazy family that is eating people and torturing their victims, and she is the last girl. She's the final girl as she escapes, but then she has to go back to the house. I so wanted like a revenge story, or it was just watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Don't even. Toby Hooper did it well. We don't have to ruin it. Next book I read is a very popular book. I tend to not agree with popular books at all. But it was I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. This is about a woman who her child is hit by a car and passes away. And then you're following the two detectives that are kind of like discovering what happened in this hit and run that caused this little boy to die. I just fucking hated it. It was, the plot twist wasn't even good. You don't like any of the people. You don't even like the detectives. Like, it was so not good. I don't know why it was so popular, to be honest. A lot of people said because there's two twists, and there are two twists, but they're not that good. Like, and they're not, I don't think they're unique. They didn't offer anything that you couldn't get from somewhere else. So, not for me. And until I end up finding, I want to know why I don't like bestsellers so often. So often I don't like bestsellers. I almost never pick them up unless it's like very highly recommended, or there's a lot of buzz surrounding it, and I want to know. I kind of want to be in the know, but I gotta stop. Was a teen book, and I should have known better because I don't usually like teen, but I'm really trying to keep my mind open about teen books because there's a couple I like. But this one, Genuine Fraud, is not good. It's told in reverse chronological order, but that might be a spoiler. Oops. Don't read it anyway. It's told in reverse chronological order, and you're following someone who is a fraud and is taking someone's identity, but you want to know why. Don't even. That's all. Will be a controversial pick because I know a lot of people love this, and there's a lot of people I follow on BookTube that really love this book, but I just didn't. Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I get it. It's loosely based on The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, which is a classic haunted novel. This wasn't it. Ruth Ware, I find I don't like any of her books. And a lot of her books are really popular and they're bestsellers. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. I don't find them particularly unique or good. And she always does the crime to me of being boring. The worst thing you can do in a movie or book is be boring. That is like the biggest crime you can do is bore your audience. She does it. Just unnecessary. I think there was one twist that I actually kind of liked, but other than that, I didn't like it. Just read Turn of the Screw. You don't need a modern retelling of it. It's just not good. It's another pick that came from BuzzFeed, directly from BuzzFeed. And sometimes I get really good stuff from BuzzFeed, so I won't knock. I still follow BuzzFeed books, and I'm still looking, because they do kind of pull up these ones that are really not mainstream, and I like that. Like, I want it to be different. But this one, Naomi's Room, I wanted this to be good. I wanted it to be good. I love horror. I wanted this to be good. It was not. Basically, you're following a family who lost their daughter, tragically, and now the house is haunted, and you're dealing with these parents who are dealing with this and whether or not their daughter is haunting the house and the grief that they feel. And it, you know what, there were scenes that were really, really, really good. There were scenes that were really well done. There was a scene in particular that was so creepy that I was like getting creeped out reading it. And then there's others. It got so unnecessarily graphic at the end, and I mean sexual violence, that came out of left field. And it was like, it didn't do anything for the story except for be disgusting. And I can usually read that stuff. Like, that stuff doesn't bother me in books when it's done well and it has a purpose to the plot. This didn't. This came totally out of left field, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then when you find out why, I fucking hated this book. I was so disgusted with it. I tried to pawn it off on someone else. I literally messaged a friend of mine who loves horror, and I asked him to just take it. I said, I have some books, just take it. I don't want it in my house, just take the book. And then I think I ended up like losing it in the move. And I'm kind of thankful I lost it in the move because I fucking hated it. The next, I'm not even going to talk about this one long. It's called Lying in Wait by Liz Nugent. Just fucking don't. It's boring, 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 boring. That's it. The next two, I'm putting the two together because it's the same author. Necessary Lies and Big Lies in a Small Town by Diane Chamberlain. Just bad. Just bad. Just bad. Just bad. Just boring. One of her other books will be my upcoming favorite books. I read the favorite of her book first. And then I read the favorite first. And I loved the book so much. And then I was like, I'm going to pick up more by this author. And Book Outlet had a bunch that were really, really affordable. So I ordered them. And they were so bad. They were so bad. They were just... They're kind of historical fiction, but with like a twist. And I really wanted to love it because I loved the first book I read of hers. But I don't know if I'll pick anything up by her again because the two after were terrible. The one deals with something called the eugenics program in the South. And look it up if you don't know anything about it. It's actually something that I think is important to know about. And then the other one is about a girl that gets out of jail to finish this painting that this artist wanted her to complete. Just nothing great about it. It was boring. It was... The couple characters are written so terribly that you actually hate them as you're reading it, and that's also a terrible thing to happen. You never want to hate the characters so much. Like the one in Necessary Lies, the social worker was so bad, like so bad, the worst social worker. She wouldn't have actually had a job. Like it was so unrealistic what was happening. Just no. The other one I read was, I got it from the library again. It's Afraid by Jack Kilburn. It, again, started out really good. Like it was genuinely creepy the way they set up this thing happening. Basically a helicopter crashes and then chaos happens to this small town that it lands in. You're following the people. And it ended up like being a military conspiracy theory book. Like what? I fucking hated it. Again, like I was like, I guess if you're a fan of that kind of, you would probably like it, but I thought it was going to be like a horror novel, and it was just a military cover-up novel. It was just bad. This next one is In the House, in the Dark, by the Woods, by Laird Hunt, I think. A very small book. I got it from the library, but just not good. I don't know how else to describe it. It just wasn't good. It was very hard to get into. And the writing, again, was like I found it to be like an experimental type of writing. And I wasn't for it. This book I bought, I don't know why. I thought it was going to be a satire. I really thought it was going to be a satire. And it wasn't. Hot Pterodactyl Boyfriend. I don't know why I read this book. I don't know why I bought it. First of all, I love dinosaurs, so that was, I think, part of the intrigue. Second, it was a Canadian author, also part of the intrigue. And I do love satire. So I thought this was going to be a satire. And then it ended up being legitimately a book about a pterodactyl that shows up at high school in an exchange student program. And everyone loves the pterodactyl, and they all want to be in a relationship with him. And he does something to like hypnotize them And there's like weird sexual tension. And if they've been with the pterodactyl, their like noses turn purple, and that's how you know. Its name's Pike. What the fuck? I can't even, because I'm like, I can't believe I'm seriously talking about this fucking book. Like, and I marked it up because I like rant about it one day. I just fucking hated it. I hated it. It was so bad. Like, and then it made me think, like, yeah, teen books really are fucking terrible, but oh my. The next book I read was a true crime. I think it's supposed to be a true crime. It's definitely marketed as a true crime. You All Grow Up and Leave Me by Piper Weiss. It's probably Weiss, but Weiss. This apparently is about this tennis coach in Manhattan who had like very wealthy clients and then ended up like sexually assaulting and doing horrible things to these girls that were his students. Or students? Whatever. I don't know sports. So I DNF'd this book because it was not at all about this. The first like 20 pages of this book are talking about what life is like for rich people in Manhattan. And I just didn't give a fuck. I wanted crime. Next book I read, I'm gonna put it right after because it was the same kind of thing, Wild Game. It's a memoir about a girl who her mother had an affair, and then her mother ended up kind of like telling her all about it and involving her in it. Again, it was like a really shitty rich people with a mother trying to be her daughter's friend. And I just didn't give a fuck. The next I read is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This is on Reese's Book Club. I don't have much luck with Reese's Book Club, to be honest. I don't really Reese Witherspoon's Book Club. I haven't found one that I liked yet. I think one maybe. I DNF'd it because I could not stand the character, and maybe it was intended to be written like that. Perhaps I'll give it a benefit of the doubt that you are intended to not like this person, but I didn't like it enough that I gave up on it completely. So there's that. Next book I read. A lot of my favorite booktubers love this book, and a friend of mine, he loves this book. Like, I think he still loves it. The Truth by Nick Cutter. I fucking hated this book. I hated it. Again, well, probably shouldn't have read it in a pandemic. That's step one, because it's literally about a troop off the coast of Canada on an island. And a guy shows up in a boat and he starts like eating the dirt, and he's like so hungry, but it's like scary hungry. And then this is very much body horror, if you like that. I was getting queasy reading it, which I will give props to being good writing, because something that can get that reaction out of you is obviously written well enough, because you are getting a reaction out of it. But then like this one kid in the troop is like, and they start talking about animal cruelty, and I was just done. I didn't care. Basically, to me, it's Lord of the Flies, but body horror. That's it. So I'd stick with Lord of the Flies personally. The next one, I think I have this book still. Do I have this book still? I probably do. I think I kept it still. But anyway, it's One Day in December by Josie Silver. It's romance. You know, I don't normally read romance. But this romance in particular, you follow two people over 10 years. It was 10 years too fucking long. And this book would have been solved if they just fucking communicated. That's it. If the characters in this book just communicated about their feelings, this whole book wouldn't have happened. I find that's like a trope in romance. Like, if they just talk to each other, the story actually wouldn't happen. So, but like, I don't like that. I don't like that, like, plotline. I just don't fucking care. The next I read was Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. My first Bachman book. I've heard that he's an excellent writer. The premise I thought was really interesting. It was about a heist gone wrong, and the guy ends up fleeing into an apartment building that he thinks is abandoned, but it's actually, there's a real estate showing happening. And you're supposed to like follow this, and I didn't give a fuck. That's it. I just didn't care. If you like this book, good for you. I fucking hated it. I just didn't care. Boring, unnecessary, didn't care. Got rid of it. This cover of this book, I Hold a Wolf by the Ears by Laura Vandenberg. I love this. These are supposed to be horror short stories, by the way. They are supposed to be horror short stories. Not horrifying. This book made me feel stupid. Like, it's written in such a way that, like, none of the stories have a very cohesive plot line. They're all kind of, like, to be left to your own interpretation. And again, like, there's a lot of, like, feminist tones to the book, which is fine, but it's not for me. I did not like how it was written at all. I didn't like any of the stories, and none of them were scary. And that's it. Those were the worst books I read in 2020, and like, to me, that's a few too much. I really hope the 2021 is gonna be better. I don't know where to find books, so I'm really hoping that I find some good ones this year. So thanks again for watching, and